In the Families Near and Far inquiry, students work together to build an inclusive understanding of what it means to be a family. They explore what makes their family unique, identify family roles and responsibilities, and develop an appreciation for differences in families and cultures. Let's take a look at the key moments in the inquiry. Before you begin exploring families near and far with students, consider informing caregivers about the inquiry using the provided inquiry launch letter. The hook lesson, Unique Individuals, Unique Families, is the first lesson of the launch module. During this lesson, you'll facilitate a read aloud of Hey Wall by Susan Verde and John Pera. Remember, there's no pre-teaching required for hook lessons. Students are likely to encounter new words, new concepts, and new content. Use the newness to spark curiosity and motivate students for the learning ahead. You'll begin building your classroom's vocab wall, which will grow over the course of the inquiry. Finally, you'll introduce students to the inquiry question that will guide them through the investigation modules that will follow. How can we bring families together to form stronger communities? In the second lesson of the launch module, Generating Investigation Questions, students will use the question formulation technique, a protocol for producing, improving, and prioritizing questions. During the protocol, you'll work with students to fill out the investigation questions anchor chart, which you'll display and refer back to throughout the inquiry. Remember, it's okay if students don't have many ideas yet. This is time for informal pre-assessment, not pre-teaching. After the launch module, you'll guide students through 4 investigation modules, each organized around an essential need-to-know question. How are families similar and different? Why do families share traditions? How can family members take care of one another? What does diversity bring to our community? Over the course of these modules, you and your students will construct an inquiry-long display, the Class Quilt Inquiry Wall, a visual representation of the unique aspects of your students' families and communities. This display acts as a living document that you'll add to and modify throughout the inquiry. It will serve as a tool to help students recall learning and draw connections to the inquiry question. Throughout these investigation modules, you'll also check for understanding using checkpoint assessments, which come near the end of a module. Remember, if you need support with the checkpoint assessment, you can always use the assessment guide linked in the lesson. Let's look at a few highlights from each module. In Module 2, after a read aloud of Who's in a Family by Robert Skutch, students construct a family map that shows how classroom families are similar and different. In Module 3, after a read aloud of Apple Pie, 4th of July by Janet S. Wong, students create a special quilt square that describes a food tradition from their own family. In Module 4, students create comic strips that explore an important family role or responsibility, then give and receive feedback on their work. Finally, in Module 5, students engage in a mingle, pair, share discussion to reflect on their learning about families' differences and traditions. At the end of Module 5, you'll help students get ready to turn their learning into action by identifying problems and opportunities in the world around them, generating ideas for action using inquiry statement cards, creating an inquiry challenge statement that will guide them in taking informed action. After Module 5, it's time to take action. Based on student interest, available resources, and your unique context, you'll choose an inquiry product that students will create to impact the community beyond their classroom. The possibilities are endless. Students could make an original cookbook to celebrate the diversity of the classroom, sharing recipes and ideas for family traditions. Host a school-wide event to which parents and community members are invited to share and present their family stories and traditions. Create mobiles that represent the various roles within their family structures. Whatever product you and your students choose to create, the lessons of Module 6 will guide you through the stages of the design process, culminating in students sharing their work and reflecting on their learning and accomplishments. One important step in the design cycle that you don't want to miss is co-creating a final inquiry product rubric with students. You'll base your rubric on objectives from the investigation modules, inquiry skills, and student-generated success criteria. And that's a quick overview of the Families Near and Far inquiry. Don't forget to submit samples of student work and photos. Accessible from the Inquiry Hub portal at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Good luck on your inquiry journey.